Hello and welcome to another chess game. In this video I'm going to continue the coverage of the Chessable Masters online tournament final. So that is between Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, and Anish Giri, a top Dutch grandmaster. In my first video I showed you the first game, but now we are going to directly jump to game 6. And first I will cover what happened in between these games, also on social media, not just on the chessboard, and then I will show you the game 6, which is a very interesting and very tense game, and again other things than just chess happening during the game. So so what happened before? So game 1 was drawn, as I showed you before, but game 2 was won by Carlsen very convincingly in an endgame. And in game 3, when Ganesh was with the white pieces, he didn't manage to equalize, so they faced game 4, which was a must-win situation for Anish Giri. And actually he managed to beat the world champion with the black pieces quite easily. And so this tied the score. And afterwards, Giri actually also tweeted on his feed saying that beat Magnus Carlsen on demand with the black pieces is jacked. So yeah, the score is tied, and now we are going to the blitz portion, so the blitz tiebreak. And in game 5 in the blitz, actually Giri Anish had very good chances to win, but he missed them, and Carlsen managed to escape, and the game was a draw. So this is the story before we reach game 6, which I'm going to show you now. So game 6, another blitz game. The time control is 5 minutes plus 2 seconds increment. So let's start. Carlsen is with the white pieces and opens with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, so we are going to the Nimzo Indian defense, a3, bishop takes c3. And actually in this position, Carlsen did not respond, so obviously b takes c3 is the move you are going to play by taking this bishop. However, Carlsen got disconnected. And Carlsen was disconnected for a good 1.5 minutes, so this is actually a time disadvantage to Carlsen or advantage to Giri. And after the game, actually both guys said that this was actually more confusing to Giri, who just didn't know what is going on, while Carlsen was trying to reconnect. So after b takes c3, also Giri started to think of like what to do, or shall he just give back the time advantage. And well, also he jokingly said that Carlsen, when this happened in the previous round in sort of opposite situation, so when Carlsen's opponent Ding was disconnected, then Carlsen's reaction was basically just giving up his queen and losing. So Giri also jokingly said whether this is the etiquette and now he should just sacrifice his queen. Yeah, so but we will see that Giri was actually the one who got more confused. So c5 is obviously theory, e3, knight c6, bishop d3, d6, knight e2, and e5, all standard moves. And here Carlsen plays knight g3, to which Giri plays a bad move, and this shows that he's quite confused. He played h5, which is really not the area where black is supposed to play, and actually after h4, his g5 square is going to be very weak, and soon we will see that the white bishop can land there, and that's going to be very bad for black. So he played queen e7, Giri did d5, knight goes back, and d4. And now it's clear that white's plan is to put the bishop to g5, castle, and open up the position with f4. And black is nowhere with development. This pawn is going to be weak, and his king is going to be in the center, trapped, potentially facing a huge attack. So again, Giri plays bishop g4, f3, bishop c8, goes just back, and now Carlsen comes with bishop g5, creating this huge pin on this diagonal. And in his position, probably another mistake that Giri made, he played queen c7. And in this position, well, Carlsen just took an f6, g takes f6, castle, and the idea is simply to play f4, open up the position probably with active e5. This pawn is hanging, and black is just in huge trouble. So, well, Giri tried to fight on with knight d7, f4, e takes f4, and knight takes h5. So it's clear that white is going to get some pawns as well next to his superior pieces and the piece activity. And at this point, Giri decided not to defend his pawns and try to go for at least having one active piece with knight e5. Well, this piece is actually at least a nice one. Now Carlsen just took the pawn, king d8, and Carlsen took the other pawn as well. Rook takes f4. So actually white is already up by 2 pawns, as a matter of fact, and his pieces are just super active. All black has is this active knight on e5. And now Giri plays knight g6, which is a good try for a counterplay. Attacks the rook and also attacks potentially this h4 pawn. So if the rook goes away, then the black rook can take and hope for some counterplay. In this position, I invite you to stop actually the video and figure out how Carlsen continued from this position. So of course Carlsen also sees that black's best piece is this g6 knight, and well, he's not shying away, just sacrificing his rook for it. So Carlsen goes with queen f3, and actually Giri does not really want to accept the sacrifice and first starts with queen e7. However, after h5 he doesn't have a other choice than just take the rook, and queen takes f4. So we can see why white sacrificed this exchange. So this knight is extremely dominant on f6, basically locks this rook, and actually the whole army of black is just paralyzed by this one knight on f6. So Giri tried to exchange the queen, but Carlsen just accepted this, and after taking black he played g4, making sure that after g5 his knight is well protected. And now Giri actually found a nice way to fight on. He played a5 with the idea of playing rook a6 and just take this knight, sacrificing back the exchange, trying to get some counterfeit and eliminating the black best piece of white. Here Carlsen played g5, rook a6, and now Carlsen did not take seriously this sacrifice of rook takes f6, and he just played rook b1. To be honest, he could have just played bishop e2, which looks like a lot better move, protecting this pawn, making sure that when black takes on f6, then this pawn is actually protected and stays on the board. However, he just played rook b1, and as mentioned before, now Giri just sacrifices his rook, g takes f6, and now Giri can take a pawn again. But so now black is only down by 1 pawn, and finally his pieces are starting to be active. And in such positions, actually this bishop of white, which is behind all this pawn structure, is supposed to be the bad piece of white. So actually black has quite some counter chances. And also, in my opinion, black's priority should be to just eliminate this f6 pawn and then try to activate his pieces. So white played rook b5, attacking both the pawns. So this was the idea of Carlsen with this rook b1 idea, to just trying to take even more pawns. However, in this position, so black played rook h3, but he could have just go after the pawn with rook h6, rook takes x6, which looks a lot more logical, and actually it is a better move according to the engines. So just eliminate this pawn and then try to activate your pieces. But this is not what Giri did. He played rook h3, going after everything on the third rank. So now there are many things attacked here. So Carlsen played bishop e2, rook takes c3, rook takes e5, rook a3, now bishop h5. And here comes actually the problem that white is going to eliminate this f7 pawn, and then this f6 pawn could become a monster. Now Giri takes this pawn, and Carlsen plays rook a8, another important move. So now the black king is pinned, and this c8 bishop is actually the piece that is pinned. And once white manages to put his bishop on this diagonal, black's bishop could be just gone. In this position, Giri decided to play king c7 with the idea that now the bishop is not pinned anymore, so white is forced to play d6. Obviously you cannot take on d6 because then your bishop is hanging. So he had to play king d7. However, now this pawn is actually weak and black can try to go after this pawn. But actually he doesn't have time to do this because now white takes an f7 and comes rook g4 check. The king goes to the h file so that rook f4 is not a check, but this is still what Giri played. And now finally black can take the f6 pawn. However, it's actually already too late because he will lose his bishop. Because after king g3, rook takes f6, bishop h5, now bishop g4 is going to arrive, and this will actually win the piece for white. And at this point actually Carlsen is completely winning. However, I want to remind you this is a blitz game, so still it goes on, and actually there are quite some twists still left. So now rook f4 played by Giri, trying to eliminate as many pawns as possible. So to bishop g4 check, the pawn takes on d6, and after bishop c8, rook takes c4. And white actually only has one pawn left. However, this pawn is actually a good one because the a8 square can be controlled by the light squared bishop, so this is technically a winning position. Now Carlsen just takes the pawn, black plays rook c3, and well, a bit surprisingly Carlsen's go further with king g4. King f2 looks like a more natural move and then march towards there. But yeah, well, he played king g4, it's not a big deal actually. Black pushes c4, white comes back with bishop e4. Again, playing something like king c5, activating the king seems like a better move, but Giri wanted to push his pawn and play the rook c1. Now Carlsen plays rook e5, making sure that now the black king cannot be activated, but also Anish plays rook f1 and also cuts away the white king. Now Carlsen comes back with the idea of playing bishop f4, king j2, and finally, first king g2, and then when the rook goes, the king can go to f2. So now comes rook f4, bishop f3, rook d4, and king f2. Finally, Carlsen's king can come back. However, it's actually too late. So in this position, Giri has a forced drawing line, which again I invite you to stop the clock and think. Well, this is actually not an easy one, so you need quite some time to figure out. So what is the counterplay with black? Well, it's quite simple. We have only one pawn to push, this one. And actually, if you start pushing now, that could lead to sufficient counterplay. So let's say you play c3, then white's idea is to put king e3, and if you push forward c2, then black can just play rook a6 check, and let's say king c5, then rook c6, and actually your pawn is lost. So for that reason, when white plays king e3, we're not pushing our pawn, but what black can play is rook c4, controlling now the c file. And with the idea that if white plays king d3, then you can just push your pawn to c2, and if the king takes, then actually your pawn just queens, and now it's black who is winning. So for that reason, king d3 is actually not possible, but you have to also realize that once the rook is on the c file, the previous trick with rook a6 and rook c6 doesn't work anymore because the black rook actually controls the c file. So black now has to play rook d5 check, the king goes somewhere, say e6, and bring the rook back. This is the only way to stop the pawn. However, after c6, rook c1, black can just play rook c3 track, and actually this way eliminated the last pawn of white, which after king e2, rook e3, this will actually end up in the rook plus bishop against rook ending, which is known to be a theoretical draw. However, it's actually quite hard to hold. So it would have been very interesting what happens in this case, but actually Giri did not play the move c3, as I mentioned in this position, but decided to play rook d3, which is also logical, but actually it's not enough. So now black tries to cut off the white king on the third rank, but this is not very useful. Actually, and from this point onwards, Carlsen does not make any more mistakes and quickly collects the point. So bishop e3, rook b3, now the king can come closer, and rook b2 doesn't do much damage anymore because king e3, rook b3, king d2, and if you were to give one more check, then the white king just arrives on c3, takes the pawn, and then pushes this one in. So actually the game is over. Well, Anish tried king c7. Now the a-pawn goes king b6 and rook e5, rook b4. Carlsen just defended his pawn with bishop c2. Now the king comes there, eats up this pawn, and this pawn can easily queen because the white has the right bishop that can control the final a square. So yeah, this was game 6. Giri resigned, and with this game Giri also resigned the whole day. So now Carlsen is up 1-0 after one day of playing, and Giri has to win both of the remaining days in order to clinch the victory of the Chessable Masters. And yeah, of course, these guys actually, well, it's over on the chessboard, but of course they do use their social media. So the final tweet from yesterday, so Carlsen said the second try, so the first try was the fourth game when Carlsen had to just draw with white pieces. He lost that. So it says Sam, you win. So that was, well, it could refer to the fourth game, but the way it is written, you can also think of Sam as abbreviation for social media. So in social media, actually Giri wins, but Sam, you lose, which is clearly the sixth game. So yeah, Carlsen won on the chessboard. And to make it funny, actually, Anish Giri replied saying that we're bringing So Weasley, another American top grandmaster, into the game is just so uncalled for. And yeah, looking forward to more twists and turns for tomorrow. So yeah, this concludes the video. This was the first day of the finals of the Chessable tournament. And yeah, so now Carlsen only needs one more day victory and he would clinch the title, while Giri has to win both of the remaining days to be able to become champion. So that's actually also concludes this video. So thank you very much for watching it. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to continue following this Chessable Finals tournament, then you can also subscribe to my channel to make sure that you get to see the remaining games as well. And see you in the next video. So next day of Chessable.